Welcome to the OVW podcast, the unofficial podcast of Ohio Valley Wrestling. I am Jack Minogues, joined today, as always, by Brian Hines.
Howdy, folks. How's it going tonight?
It's going. I'm doing well. About to do a little bit better, Brian. We already clinked. Let's get this down.
Amen to that.
You know, Brian, this is actually the same whiskey that we had the first time we ever toasted.
Really?
On this show. This is what we shared with Crixus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so kind of a little signpost there for us.
Maybe
still as good as I remember it.
It is.
All these months later.
Hopefully that'll be a bit of foreshadowing, and that means Crixus will be back to see us soon.
Yeah, this might actually be the second guest we've had return to the show, is Inclusion Brand Caramel Stave. Today we're getting into all the action from the OVW pre-show and OVW Rise number 1276 that emanated live originally on January 25th from historic Davis Arena. We'll also talk about all the headlines of the week in and around Ohio Valley Wrestling. And then we'll hear from you guys at the Fan Zone.
But first, we would like to take a minute and say a special thank you to Cashflow.
Mm-hmm.
We were lucky enough to travel to Davis Arena last week and do an interview with Cashflow at historic Davis Arena.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say, me personally, that was a highlight of my career as a wrestling fan, but as a podcaster, that was next level exciting for me.
Definitely. It served two masters for me as well. It's very intimidating to walk into an empty Davis Arena and know that you're about to interview Cashflow. Had no idea. As with all of these interviews, we have no idea what we're going to get into until we sit down and press record.
Yeah.
And Cashflow is an intimidating guy. Has a lot to say about wrestling, a lot of opinions on wrestling, has done anything that you could ask a wrestler to do. And so we had no idea what we were going to get into. And then you add the added pressure of being in a place that we probably shouldn't have been at, Davis Arena, on the off day. As a wrestling fan, I didn't feel like we belonged there.
It was different for sure, yeah.
But it turned out amazing. If you guys haven't watched the YouTube video yet, our newly revamped YouTube page is going stronger than ever. Our producers, Tiny Brian and Malachi P.S. Woodard, did a great job of getting great quality audio and a great shot in Davis Arena that day. Probably the best piece of visual media we've put out to date. Really, really proud of that.
The purely sexiest
piece of visual media we put out to date. But it was also kind of it was a long week for us.
It was a marathon week. It was a banner week. That was the first time where we had an interview or an episode to record every day, Monday through Friday.
Mm-hmm.
We did 4 episodes this past week.
We did 5. 4 interviews. And 1 of our regular shows.
Oh, well, yeah. 4 interviews and the weekly rundown from last Thursday, or I guess the previous Thursday's episode of OVW. And I don't know about you, but I walked out of this week tired,
mm-hmm.
but I felt very rewarded.
Definitely. There's a sense of accomplishment here for a lot of reasons at the podcast, some of which we hope to be able to share with you in more detail in a short amount of time within the next few weeks, hopefully. But this past week it was the hardest we've worked in a long time. And we did 4 of the best interviews that we've done.
I'm very excited to see.
And they're all 4 very different.
Yeah, there are no 2 things alike out of those 4 interviews, and I am anxious to go back and listen to and watch every single one of them for different reasons.
So if you're a fan of, Cashflow.
I am.
If you're a fan of, Tiffany Nieves. If you're a fan of Will Austin. If you're a fan of Star Rider, maybe you pay attention to this very feed over the next few weeks, both on the podcast feed and on our YouTube page.
Keep your eyes open on Thursdays on the podcast feed. I don't know what when they come out in the YouTubes, but I bet Tiny
Saturday
Brian
mornings they come out.
Mornings.
Saturday mornings, just like your favorite cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
We're in your YouTube feed with all sorts of interviews and hijinks like the kids like.
And Tiffany will be the one that's next, right?
Yes, Tiffany is this Thursday in the audio and then Saturday in the video.
Oh, I am definitely looking forward to that.
For sure. As much as fun as we had, I think got kind of a good, genuine, great interview with Cashflow. We were able to go to places that I was very proud of as an interviewer.
Yes.
complete opposite with Tiffany Nieves. This both great interviews for two very different reasons. I think is the best way I can put it without saying anything.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah, without giving anything away. Yeah.
I think it is safe to say that what is the opposite of when someone takes a shine to you? You know, because Tiffany Nieves took the opposite of a shine to you, Jackman.
She did not have anything
Yeah,
to say or do with me that was
she
positive.
kind of, I don't know whether I'd go so far as to say that she finds you detestable or loathsome, but
Wow.
yeah, that didn't go well in the beginning.
was-
but we were able to rally and make her happy by the end of it. But I will say that took an unexpected turn rather quickly, and I
Very
think that we were
quickly.
able to scramble and put things back on course.
She
relatively quickly.
had us all working overtime that day. So be sure that'll arrive this week in your guys' various feeds. That was a lot of fun. Great, like I said, great week of interviews. All of them, all four of them, very different. All four of them we're really excited to bring to you guys, our listeners. Let's get into some news updates, Brian, from Ohio Valley Wrestling over the last week since last Monday when we met to record this episode.
Okay, well, at the top of that list, I had seen a couple things online that had led me to believe this, and I had heard a couple things from people, but I hadn't really gotten any sort of confirmation. But it appears as though the Dark Reverend Ronnie Roberts is no longer with OVW. From what we understand, everything's on good terms.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, he's going and doing other things, and hopefully that means that we'll be able to catch up with him and get an interview with him sooner than later. I was hoping that we would have been able to do this by now, but it just wasn't able to work out. But I'm hoping that's still on the cards for the near future.
This is something that we had heard 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Yeah.
So wasn't sure how exactly to broach the subject on microphone, but we have, should anybody be concerned about our ability to say that in confidence, we have checked with.
Yes, OVW officials, Brian Kennison specifically does confirm that Ronnie is out at OVW.
Right. So we feel very confident in that. Again, it's something that we'd heard for a couple of weeks. We're kind of deciding the best way to mention it. And I think we feel confident now that it's an okay thing to say. It's out there. It's in the ether.
With that being said, I hate to hear that because
Me too.
We've been talking about how great the Fallen are as a group.
At a time, too, where they really are coming into...
Exactly. I mean, I was able to catch a brief word with ZDP this past Thursday, and when I caught up with him, he said... But
I was really worried he was going to infect you, Brian.
I was afraid he was too.
Then you were going to get in my car and infect me.
Yeah, but we're good. No ZDP cooties or anything. But by going, he did tell me that indeed Reverend Ronnie is out of the Fallen. Unfortunately, I hate to hear that, man, because I'm a big fan of your work. And if you ever get a chance to catch the Reverend anywhere out and about, I highly recommend you do so. With that being said, I would absolutely love it if the stars aligned and he ended up at a Spot Monkey promotion or two in the next few months. I know that they've got a show in February, March, and April. Wink, wink, hint, hint. Tim Taylor, if you're hearing this and you need some extra talent for your shows, Reverend Ronnie is
as good as it gets.
As good as it gets, yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because if you know of a local promotion anywhere in the country, but especially kind of in the Southeast, email them. Get on your social media. Get on their social media. Tell them that there's a great wrestler that you know from OVW, the Dark Reverend Ronnie Roberts, and that you'd love to see him at your local promotion.
I sure would.
Tiffany Nieves has signed with the National Wrestling Alliance.
Congratulations. That is a huge deal for La Princesa, and I couldn't think of anybody more deserving than her, even if she is one of the most dastardly heels working in OVW these days, as we saw firsthand.
That is something that kind of we became aware of last week that became official today. As we're recording this on Monday, that became official. So congratulations, like you said, to Tiffany Nieves. Seems to kind of be another example of the growing relationship between NWA and OVW.
Yes, as well as another jewel in the crown of La Princesa.
She will discuss that in her interview on Thursday.
Yes, she will.
We can now talk about it.
Yeah, we heard about a lot of things, and that was one of them. And
we got told a lot of things.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling, is returning to the Manchester Music Hall in Lexington, Kentucky next month, right? February
26th, I think it is.
23rd.
23rd.
Yes.
This is a show that we know is kind of going to, it looks like, be a more marquee house show for OVW moving forward. There was a title change there last time they threw a show there. It was a massive crowd. It looks like kind of they want to make this
like once a quarter, maybe?
It looks like kind of as far as stops outside of Davis Arena, this might be the one that you want to pay the most attention to.
This is definitely the one that I will be paying most attention to for sure, being that it is right around the corner from Nut House Studios. It is easily accessible, and hopefully that means that some of those folks will be able to stop by and visit us on Friday before the show.
That's the way it happened last time.
At
the Manchester Music Hall show.
Yeah, maybe some of these folks that we've tried to get in touch with and haven't been able to would be available, like Superior Tony Evans or Jack Vaughn or maybe Crixus will be at that show and we'll be able to get him back, or T-Dub and Donovan Cecil. You just never know who might be able to stop in that day.
And if you're going to that show as just a fan, let us know. Stop by. We're very close. We're central to that area. We're very close.
We're
meet
literally like right around the corner. We could all meet up and we could go have tacos, or we could grill out or something.
Get some beers.
Yeah,
it's going to be in February, so maybe not grill out.
Grill in.
I'm just saying, like maybe bring some chips or like a potluck, and we could come up with something. We still have more food to talk about because Dakota said so.
OVW back catalog. Yeah, we do need to get some minutes in on the food talk. It's been a little bit.
Haven't forgot about you, man.
OVW back catalog is. It is no longer on YouTube?
Yeah, so over the weekend, like 20 or 30 back catalog episodes, most of the 900s just appeared. They were there for about 24 hours, and then they disappeared. I was able to speak to Kennison about this as well today. He tells me that they are looking into some sort of thing to be able to let you get access to that back catalog, whether it be a subscription through YouTube or some other service.
They've had a service in the past.
Yeah, they say they want to try to do a little bit better job than the one they did with that one. A little bit more organized, I believe, was what Kennison said specifically.
It's a massive amount of inventory that they have. I mean, it's not an easy feat for the big guys to get onto, a effective streaming, a well organized streaming service. So it's got to be exceptionally harder for the little guy like OVW. Right? I would imagine.
All right.
Sure.
What else we got in the news? Is that it?
That is it.
Yeah, that seems to be the
as soon as we get
some
more confirmed details about what OVW streaming back catalog looks like in the future, you will hear it here first. We'll be right back with a recap from all of the action from Ohio Valley Television 1276, originally from January 25th, right after this.
Hey folks, Tiny Brian here to tell you once again about Bluegrass Homefront. That's right, folks. Kentucky music and stories, Bluegrass Homefront. We are so thrilled with all of the response we've gotten. At least some of you are downloading this show. I look at the numbers. We've done nothing but talk about it here for the last 2 years, and we're getting downloads every day. So some of you are listening, and we are really thankful for that. We're starting to plan stories for Season 3. Got a couple of notable names. Don't really want to release anything yet, but maybe some people you would know around Frankfurt, maybe some folks from Louisville, just, whoever you might think of. A lot of music. Some people that we know have kind of blown up big since we last talked to them. So some new people, some new things, music, stories, illicit cheese if it comes up. Bluegrass Homefront at bluegrasshomefront.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we return to the OVW podcast.
Welcome back to the OVW podcast. I'm Jack Oaks.
I'm still Brian Hines.
Let's start here at the top of the pre-show, OVW pre-show from this past week, Brian.
All right. It looks like we start off this week with a tag team match. We see Dysfunction for the first time in quite a while.
Yeah.
Leading off the show with our good friends, Maximo Suave, and our hopefully sooner than later to be good friend, Hoda Pesos.
The former Manny Domingo, the
Correct.
current Hoda Pesos. Little bit of, let's peel it back a little bit, Brian. we've been expecting or looking for the tag team of Maximo, Suave, and Hoda Pesos for a while.
Yeah, probably about 3 months or so.
Yeah, it's something that we were told after the new year was going to be on the docket. Then this Hoda Pesos character kind of comes out of nowhere. It's, I think, something that you could say probably was a one-time thing.
Yeah.
That just
Incredibly
grew,
over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just grew its own set of wings and kind of just became its own thing all in of itself. Like we mentioned last week, he's not even in Jay Dinero storylines anymore.
No.
He's still kind of taking the piss out of Jay
Yeah,
Dinero.
Hoda Pesos is still pretty over, and I can see why he's still around. You know, he's looking sharp.
Mm-hmm.
He's a sharp dressed man, and I mean he's great in the ring. But putting him together with Maximo, finally getting the payoff that we've been looking for. I mean, they look great.
Yeah.
As a tag team, there was a lot of synergy. It didn't look like they were. This was one of the first times they'd been paired together. They look like they've been a team for several years now. Watching them, and they did a great job.
A lot of very quick and unison tag team work.
Yeah.
They make a lot of sense as a pair. Make a lot of sense when you watch them live as a pair. Make a lot of sense when you're watching them back on TV as a pair. Hopefully, this is something that we can see more of week in and week out now that it seems like Hoda Pesos has left the Jay Dinero sphere.
Yeah. Maybe now we could get the tag team of Maximo Pesos.
Maximo Pesos.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good name.
It's
like
like
that.
Maximum Overdrive, only with more pesos.
Bout to, we'll go ahead and mention Manny, Domingo, Hoda Pesos, and Maximo Suave take over the win over Dysfunction there. Bout 2 of the night was Orion and Jason Hendrix.
Yeah. As soon as I saw who the opponent was, I thought, well, Jason Hendrix didn't really have a chance because Orion being on this mean streak that he's on that's growing wider and wider by the week. I mean, God help you, Hendrix, really, because I don't know if you knew what you were walking into, but you knew what you got when you left the ring for sure.
Well, and it's, we questioned 2 weeks in a row, why can't Orion get a win? Here's the win.
Yeah, here it is. He definitely got it all right.
So this next match I thought was ironic. I've come on here on the show several times and said, man, I love Shalonce Royale. She's great. I love Arie Alexander. She's great. These two girls need to get wins. I can't wait to see them in this program that they might have against each other. Then we put them in a tag team with each other, and then they still lose. So I got none of the things that I wanted.
Yeah.
They were battling this week the newly formed tag team of Sophia Rose and Lady Bird. It kind of goes back. I've said it before on this microphone. I'll say it again. Shalonce is a great wrestler. Arie Alexander is a great wrestler.
Agreed.
Sophia Rose and Lady Bird are a little less mature in their wrestling journey.
They're a little green.
A little green.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No. But
It's not easy being green, actually.
But it's very obvious the disparity between the skill set of Arie Alexander and Shalonce Royale versus the skill set of Lady Bird and Sophia Rose. But they're young and they're pretty and they're energetic, and the crowd was into them the moment they walked through the curtain.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just kind of not what I want to see out of Shalonce and Arie Alexander. I really, 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 really like them a lot and want them to be. I don't know. I want to see them showcased.
Yeah.
I want to see them showcased.
I was surprised that Sophia Rose and Lady Bird got the win over Shalonce and Arie Alexander this week. I really thought it was going to go the other way. Nevertheless, bless you.
Thank you.
The win goes to Sophia Rose and Lady Bird, and I don't know how long they've been a tag team or how long they'll be a tag team, but if things don't work between Sophia Rose and Lady Bird, maybe Sophia Rose could tag with Dorothy Devereaux.
See, is that a Golden Girls reference?
Thank you for being a friend, man.
Yep. The last batch of the pre-show, Will Austin versus everybody's shiny new toy, Davis Arena, Shane Mercer.
Oh, yeah. He looked great this week, as he has every week since he's been on there.
Will Austin is kind of the perfect guy for a up-and-comer like Shane Mercer.
Well, he's the future, so.
Shane Mercer is hot as hell right now. Everybody loves him in Davis Arena. And Will Austin can make a guy like Shane Mercer look really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of goes back to the thing about ever since the death of the Orion storyline against Will Austin, though. I don't see what direction they see for him. And that bothers me because I think the kid's exceptionally talented. He's a great interview, a good guy. It just seems like week to week he's
like kind of lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
Like they don't really have a home for him yet.
Right. He's a good guy one week, he's a bad guy the next week. He's just and I hate that for him because I think he's really an exceptional wrestler. He does get kind of like beat up during this match. He kind of like runs into the ring rope and like really gashes the side of his body. It looks
Jesus.
really bad.
He landed on the corner of that barricade and
Yeah, was that what it was? Yeah.
yeah. I know recently
It kind of happened so quickly live.
firsthand experience that stuff like that kind of hurts.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But he was a pro, and even though he had a spot on his rib cage that was easily like as big as my hand, he still finished the match and looked great doing it. It just wasn't his night despite all his best efforts.
Will Austin doesn't mind running into that barricade either.
No.
We've seen it personally several times. Will Austin, he's one of the gentlemen that came by in the interviews. He said that he wasn't a Bret Hart guy. And I just want anybody to listen to that interview when it finally drops and tell me that he's not just Bret Hart. Yeah, he reminded me just so much, just kind of the way he spoke, kind of sour grapes the whole time, Great interview, a lot of fun when he came by. But as he said, I wasn't really a Bret Hart guy. As he was talking, I kind of looked over with him and said, in what way? Like, you are just being Bret Hart right now. He was 3 seconds away from saying Goldberg sucks. First match of OVW Rise, the main show. Donovan Cecil and TW3 versus the Destroyers, the team of Big Beef and Big Zoe.
Oh, yeah. And I was glad to see that we got another installment of everybody's newest favorite tag team, T-Dub and Donovan Cecil. We ought to name them something like T-Dub and the Bear, like T-Dub and the Mammoth, like BJ and the Bear from back in the day.
I'm not sure what that they should name themselves, but it doesn't look like that team's going anywhere.
No. At least I would hope not anyway.
That was something that we, talking backstage or talking about the backstage environment with a few of the wrestlers over this week. It's kind of seems like, maybe you got a different idea of this, but it seems like that was something that they put on as a match placeholder, and then the crowd really reacted to it. And now it seems like Donovan Cecil and TW3 is going to be a week in and week out tag team.
Yeah. Well, this is this the third time or the second?
Second.
Okay. Well, we got to see him last week, and everybody, I know that when I say everybody, I mean you and I, for sure, and other people that we spoke to.
I also love them from here off stage.
So far, 3 for 3. All are in favor of T-Dub and the Mammoth as far as being a tag team goes. But they came out this week and gave us more of the action that we got last week that we were so impressed with. And I was able to talk to Donovan for just a minute after the match, and you could see the enthusiasm in his eye when we were talking, and we talked about how much we loved to watch them work as a tag team, and we hoped that we were able to see more of that. And I got to tell him on behalf of you. I don't know where you were. I didn't see you around, but when I did get to tell him that, I did tell him that we were serious when we both say that this is the year of the Mammoth. I mean, this guy is exceptional, and we see that he is capable of achieving great things, and we look forward to seeing what he's got going on with the 80s Baby or alone week after week. So congratulations, guys. You guys look phenomenal out there, and we hope to see more of you guys next week and every week moving forward.
Well, and if you subscribe to the idea, too, that tag teams are, and I'm not saying that I necessarily subscribe to this idea, but if you subscribe to the idea that tag teams are only made to be broken apart, for as much fun as the tag team, TW3 and Donovan Cecil are, the singles program between TW3 and Donovan Cecil is going to be a lot of fun too. Would like to say that first off, and then second off, even though they are a newly formed tag team, getting a win over the Destroyers is a instant move up the card.
Oh, definitely. I mean, both Big Beef and Big Zo looked great this week. They worked well as a team, as they always have. They just, they just didn't come out with a win because what can you say when you've got Donovan Cecil using T-Dub as a weapon and mowing people down? Hell, at one point, T-Dub was on Donovan Cecil's back like he was riding him into battle like Hannibal trying to cross, the Europe and all that. So, I mean, you guys look like champs. And as formidable as the Destroyers are, you guys picked them apart pretty quickly. So, congratulations.
Great dynamic, I guess, to end the conversation there. Great big man, strong man, little guy, high-flying guy dynamic with Donovan Cecil and TW3. About 2 of the evening, Tony Evans, and joined as always by Jay Dinero, Ryan Von Rocket with his Rockettes. This is the latest installment of the Can Tony Evans Prove Mick Foley Wrong saga.
Yes.
Do you mind to remind me what Tony Evans promised Mick Foley, how he said he was going to prove Mick Foley wrong?
If I remember right, Tony Evans said that he was going to find the biggest, strongest man in the back and beat him down. And this coming week, after this match, he said that he was going to find the biggest champion and beat him and become the champion next week.
We'll touch on that here in a moment.
Yeah. I'm getting ahead of myself.
There's a couple of important story beats here. Tony Evans does not let Jay Dinero interfere to win the match against Ron Rocket.
A couple times.
The interference that helps Tony Evans win the match comes at the hands of Carson Drake.
Yes.
While he's trying to flirt with the pair of Katie and Crystal, the Von Rockettes.
Which, if you've noticed, came up quite a lot in the rerun segments from the previous week. Carson Drake was featured quite a bit.
Sure did. When Mick Foley appears, he upgrades Tony Evans' F, score of an F, grade of an F, to that of a C. Jumped 2 whole tiers there, which is not a bad place to be.
No.
But does cite that, hey, man, you still didn't win this match outright. If Carson Drake hadn't come out and Ryan Von Rocket got distracted, you might have been the one that lost the match. So while he acknowledges some sort of improvement in Tony Evans' wrestling prowess, he rightfully so does not give him the A that he so desires. Tony Evans then does what to Mick Foley? He hushes him.
Yeah, I couldn't believe he did that. I mean,
he'd been working on it for a little bit.
You're not gonna do it. You're not gonna do it. You're doing it. You did it.
That Mick Foley promo was as all over the place as modern day Mick Foley is, but it still was as like charming as anything, and it was charming and funny and intense and like emotional. Like it really was all of. It's like the guy's been in the business for 40. Golly, I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to die on this microphone tonight. Yeah, it's almost like Mick Foley's one of the greatest of all time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Really, really, really looking forward to next week or the next chapter of this story where, as you had mentioned, Tony Evans says that he is going to beat a champion.
Yes.
Let's get to the end of this show here and make a guess on who we think that champion's going to be, because things are a little bit different at the end of this episode of OVW than they were when we were walking into it.
They are, yeah.
So Mick Foley gives Tony Evans one last chance to prove him wrong. We'll see what happens.
And gets rather upset with him.
Yeah. No, and I mean, Mick Foley was fantastic during this promo segment.
Yeah.
He really, really was. It was a masterclass.
I would like to point out that while these two are in the ring together going back and forth about why Tony Evans does or doesn't deserve the grade that he's gotten this week, Mick Foley reminds Tony that he had to leave his dog behind. And his dog's name is Randall, and Randall is named after a friend of his who is former OVW standout Randy Orton.
Oh yeah, I've heard of him.
I've heard of him a couple times. I think he's in one of the big boy promotions now. I can't remember, but if I remember right, last week on that promotion that he currently works in, somebody from that show referenced OVW, and then during this Thursday's episode, Mick Foley referenced somebody from that promotion as well. I just thought it was oddly specifically coincidental for both of those to kind of mention each other within the same week. Does that mean anything? Probably not. I just thought it was worth pointing out.
I think what it means is, quite honestly, that OVW is back in the national conversation in a way that nobody ever predicted it was going to be ever again.
And as long as we're talking about that Connecticut-based promotion in question, the head booker there now in his press conference after their pay-per-view last night called
2 nights ago, Saturday.
2 nights ago, yes, called the idea of the forbidden door.
Yes.
Stupid.
Well, it's because it's the other company's branding.
Well,
but
this I'm showing my ignorance again.
Also, if we're going to call the Forbidden Door stupid trips, how about you, I don't know, build up enough women to complete a 30-person Royal Rumble without having to bring in the champion from a company that nobody takes seriously other than me 2 years in a row? How's that? How's that? There's my bitch for the day. There's my bitch for the day. You don't get to say that it's a stupid concept whenever you're doing it.
I was hoping it meant that maybe that's going to become a little bit less rigid in their sphere of things.
I don't think it ever will be. I don't think that their business model's set up for that. I would hope it is, but I just don't think it's going to be that way. Let's move on here. Bout 3, Brian Hines.
So in Bout 3, we've got the Bad Girls Club versus, it was slated to be Freya and Haley, but Haley was jumped backstage by the
which
Bad
we saw
Girls
twice,
Club, which would
we
leave
saw
us
in the pre-show weirdly.
Yeah, which leaves us with Freya at a disadvantage against the Bad Girls Club. And last week we talked about this and we thought who the other member might be. I thought maybe it was Island Girl TT, and you thought it was going to be Gema, and it turns out you were right. So. That's off to you. TT would not have been a bad choice. Oh no.
By storylines and by the everything that we know about her and Freya, and then the way she's received, like it would have not been the smart choice. The smart choice is what they did, Gema. She's new, kind of still getting her feet wet in OVW. I think that she needs to be in a prominent spot on TV as often as humanly possible, because I think that she is, even though she's only been there for a little bit, a star, an obvious star.
I, for one, would like to see Gema versus Dream Girl Ellie.
Me too.
And
I hope that we get that.
Maybe like an Iron Woman match.
I just,
2 out of 3 falls in an hour.
It'll be hopefully some sort of really cool stipulation match, just because I'm a sucker for stimulation matches.
I don't think it would. I don't think just a regular one-off regular match would do them justice. I think we really need to see, who's the better of these two, because I feel like they're evenly matched and they both kind of have an aggressive streak that complements one another.
I think it's a deep well. I think it's a really deep well between the two of them. I think, honestly, it's a deep well between anybody that you stick him with over the next few weeks, because we haven't seen these matches in OVW.
Yes, that's true.
So there's just a lot of room to play with as far as Gema goes, in terms of what she can do in OVW and what we hope to be able to see out of her over the next few weeks. If you have not watched her, she's the best new thing going on the whole roster. I promise. She's awesome. She's awesome. Go and watch a Gema match. Go watch this one. No, go watch the one with Tiffany from last week. I enjoyed that one more.
Yeah, that was a great match.
It's also in the pre-show.
Yeah.
In case you're looking for it.
Haley runs in to save Freya at the last minute. Looks like
just as they were about to break Freya's arm in that chair. So thank God for that.
We know if Haley gets jumped before the match, she's making the save.
Yeah,
this is what she does.
That's happened a couple of times. So if she gets jumped before the match, she's not going to be there for match time, but she'll be there to cover your ass when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and one of the great things about how she's received in OVW and her star power is just sprinkling a little bit of Haley dust on top of it at the end goes a long, long way. Haley there, we see her raise Gema and Freya the Slaya's hand in as they're celebrating their victory over the Bad Girls Club. The main event, hour 1. This is when things start getting a little weird, Brian.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a title defense of from the Golden Lions against Beaches and Cream, and I don't think we ever got like 100% confirmation as to what happened, but there was an illness on Team Beaches and Cream, and they were unable to be part of this match. So the OVERmen ended up taking their place. How convenient for them, isn't it?
Yeah, if there's a inch to be taken, the OVERmen will take a mile. It's what they did tonight. Let's get to the end here. Let's get to what we came for. They beat the Golden Lions
through underhanded means,
of
as
course,
expected.
Of course.
Was it underhanded?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it looks like Shera's distracted there, and then he just rolled him up.
No. Joe Mack hits Shera in the head with the title after Cash gets the old "That's my purse, I don't know you" outside of the ring.
Low blow.
I see.
Yeah, and what
we do see Aaron Stevens.
Yeah, Aaron Stevens up there on the ramp checking out the proceedings. I like how every time he sees something that he dislikes, he's looking at you like you're putting ketchup on a $200 steak.
Yeah, he's yet to say.
He looks like Mr. Bean or some bullshit.
He's yet to say a whole lot on OVW television.
Has he said? I don't think he said a word.
He's had a backstage interview.
His eyes say everything.
But yeah, he can sit over at the top of the ramp and just make silly faces for 15 minutes and you want to know what he's doing. We're still kind of trying to figure out what
he's looking around at you like he asked you for Grey Poupon and you've got mustard packets in your console and that's it. You were just not up to par with whatever it is he's looking for. So
being in the room at Davis Arena when the OVERmen take home the belts here, it's like it sucked all the air out of the whole room.
It was the antithesis of Christmas chaos.
Yeah.
When they won Tag Team Gold on the Christmas pay-per-view, that was the feel-good, happy, warm, fuzzy, puppy kind of feeling that you wanted for a Christmas pay-per-view. But this ain't Christmas no more. This is the end of January, and times get hard, and these guys got the shaft.
Yeah, it's kind of an actually kind of incredible thing.
Kind of a thumb to the eye, actually.
that they won. Because I did not have that one. I did not see that one coming at all.
I didn't either.
At all. I would like to mention too. We still don't know who the masked men that EC3 had from a few weeks ago were, do we?
That's true.
Did we just give up on that?
Nothing's been said.
I haven't seen any sort of mention of it in the recap, and that was only January 6th, though we're like just barely over 3 weeks away.
And I mentioned that to say that it looks like, the OVERmen were about to dissolve. Now it doesn't. They have the title belts again. EC3 has both of the big belts, and we haven't made mention of these masked guys in weeks. So it's like they basically don't exist anymore.
Well, outside of the masked guys, I mean, it feels like Groundhog Day all over again, because this is kind of how things went down with Mr. Pectacular. He's in the group. We're all on the same page. Things look a little wavery. Boom, you're not in the group anymore. We're on the same page with Shera. Things look like, maybe, I don't know. Boom, Shera's out. So this is what, the third episode of I Can't Keep All My Ducks in a Row, written by EC3? I don't know.
EC3's Thursday Night Raw. All right, so OVERmen win the main event, the top hour one. Belts change hands. Crowd cannot believe it. Crowd really cannot believe it. I think it's funny too. This is the first time, especially with some of these more casual OVW fans, these people that just saw it on Netflix or got brought into it from KSR, what have you. They learned a big lesson last night and it's that it ain't all flowers and rainbows in wrestling land.
No, every once in a while somebody's going to kick your dog or they're going to steal your bike.
All right, title, Bout 5, first match of Hour 2. They get bundles versus Cal Hero. Cal Hero rules. They get bundles, sucks. Cal Hero wins. Carson Drake, we see him in a sketch after that. He is, just kind of continuing to flirt with the Von Rockettes, kind of trying to get deeper in between that group, kind of get into Ryan Von Rocket's mind a little bit. He obviously wants some hotties.
Sure.
He's like, what's the one thing I'm changing? I'm trying to do all this stuff. I'm changing the way I look. I'm changing the way I dress. I'm throwing enough stuff at the wall to try to change my character. What's the one thing I'm missing? Oh, some babes.
So I kind of feel like it right now. Carson Drake is $750,000 man, 1/4 a Godfather, shooting for having the gaggle of women.
You not the
Not
the mafia boss.
Not the movie. No, I'm talking about the WWE Godfather.
Papa Shango.
Yeah.
Okay.
That guy.
Yeah, I could see that.
Kind of like, but
just with no
real game.
Yeah, just no game. Yeah, exactly. He shouldn't have cut that hair, man.
That was it, man.
He wouldn't.
Yeah,
he doesn't need game with hair like that.
Yourself.
Next match is the Fallen and the Nephilim, or the Fallen, which is now just the team of the Nephilim and ZDP. After they've lost Reverend Ronnie Roberts, they face the Outrunners here. This is what the Zumbas versus the Hot Topic. This is Miami Vice versus the Cure, basically.
Miami Vice versus the Spencer's group.
Yeah.
Crowd.
It's two very, very different teams here.
Yeah.
In the form of the Fallen.
Very
and the
entertaining
Outrunners.
match. With or without the Reverend, the Nephilim and ZDP look great out there as always. They work well as a tag team. Still continued to work well as a tag team to up until this past Thursday, and I'm sure well beyond. The Outrunners are as solid and silly as a tag team as you're going to find in OVW or anywhere else, for that matter, as far as I'm concerned.
The Outrunners end up taking the victory here over the team of the Nephilim and ZDP. Let's take a moment, Brian, and Tiny Brian as well. What's up next for the Fallen? Do they need another member? I know that you guys, I'm undecided. I'm going to be honest. I think, Tiny Brian, you think they need another member, and you want it to be who?
I had thought that since there's already another demon in the group or in the stable of OVW, that maybe Shane Mercer could slip over and fill the gap in the Fallen.
And Behinds, what do you think the future of the Fallen should be? We rolling 2-team. We need a third guy. We need a valet. What do we need?
Well,
and we don't need any. We don't need to change anything.
As individuals, speaking of ZDP and the Nephilim, I feel like they are great performers and athletes on their own in their own right. However, I felt like having Ronnie with them, he was kind of like the anchor, kind of like the one who kept everybody in check. And with that being said, like maybe they won't be in check. Maybe ZDP will get unhinged. Maybe the Nephilim will be extra vicious and lay into somebody even more maliciously than he has in the past. Do I feel like they may need something moving forward? Perhaps. I mean, who am I to say? But I right now I do think that they would potentially work pretty well with Dysfunction. I could see them.
This is something you would mention
all kind
before.
of like blending together, and I would love to see like some kind of fairly major story arc where like the Reverend is kind of acknowledged as moving on to different things, and maybe they kind of like merge, and there's like an 8-man tag team where it's the Fallen Dysfunction versus who knows, two teams of your choice, and maybe they got somebody to join them. What do you think, Jacqueline?
Well, ZDP is on your point. ZDP is so much fun to watch in those big multi-man matches because you can just get thrown everywhere and land on top of a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So adding a couple more people that can facilitate the ZDP insane bump, I'm actually all here for it. And with the way that you were kind of talking, and this is not me taking away from the Rev at all, he was very much a center, very much like kept them grounded. But he was also, there was always an air of like silliness with the Reverend and like comedy. And that's a good thing because like wrestling should be a buffet. This, if we are starting to make a transition now that we have the opportunity to, that the Rev's not there, I kind of would like to see the Fallen just be badasses.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Just really scary, bloody, hard-hitting dudes. Like, I kind of, we're at a perfect opportunity to do something with them, something different with them. And we just need to figure out what it is. They need to figure out what it is. And it doesn't necessarily, not much has to change, but it would be, I feel like a missed opportunity not to take this very obvious end of one section of them as an act and change it into something else different now that the Rev's not there.
Yeah. And speaking of people I know on the local circuits, I didn't think about this until just now, but there's a guy that I see in the Spot Monkey shows, and I know that he's spent some time around Memphis lately, and I'm sure that some other people who may be listening may know about him. His name is Dave Barnabas Spector. I think that he would be a good fit for a group like The Fallen, or even maybe Amos Awakening, who is often accompanied by Dave Barnabas Spector. So if you know any of those guys, drop a line in the comments and let me know what you think about that, or if you have somebody else.
I could even see someone like a Sin Bodhi
Oh, yeah.
coming in. He's worked with OVW in the past. And we're talking about that kind of legitimately scary, spooky character.
Yeah.
He's very unsettling.
Yeah.
And I think he might not be a bad. There's more money in OVW now than ever. He might not be a bad thing to plug right in there to bring out that edge of the Fallen, if that's the way they want him to go. It's into the more serious, scary thing.
If we were doing a fantasy draft for additional members of the Fallen, he
Sin
would
Bodhi's
be,
up there.
Yeah, he would be up there. Also, I would like to add, we were talking about action figures off mic before we said
as we often do.
As we often do. He is also a fan of the action figures and does some wonderful customs, by the way.
Well, maybe we were talking about custom action figures, and might be getting one from Sin Bodhi might be good little. We can't cover up Tiffany.
No.
But all the rest of this shit, we can change this shit.
Yeah, we can change all that around. But Tiffany stays right
at the top
because she is La Princesa, and she told us so.
So up next, thankfully, this was not the last thing of the night because, and I've complained about this before, OVW has a bad habit of putting on talking segments right at the very end of the show. And it can really suck the energy out of the room. It can really put a damper on the end of what is most of the time high-quality, entertaining weekly wrestling. I was really glad to see EC3's Thursday Night Raw in this spot directly prior to the main event.
As opposed to the main event, yes.
He brings out his steel chair. He's got the NWA title, the OVW title, and another title that I did not recognize. I'm going to assume is that the little territory that he owns.
That's the title that his mom made for him. She cut the bottoms of his pants off and then sewed them together and made him his own belt.
It was the only one that he didn't bring a lot of attention to, so I was kind of confused as to why it was there at all if you're not going to bring attention to it. But
if you remember right, this was supposed to be a match with Star Rider.
Right.
And it wasn't.
Well, and I try really hard not to speculate on things. I don't think it feels like EC3 was having some trouble. He's usually a very, very eloquent guy. As much as I've busted on his promos and stuff on this show, I do think he's a great promo, and he's been a good promo for a long time. There just seemed in the moment, there just seemed something a little weird. Like the vibe was wrong. Did you pick up on that? Or am I speaking totally out of church here?
I felt like the vibe was wrong. Or I wouldn't say wrong. I would say off pretty much the whole entire night. And I mentioned that to Tiny Brian. I told him that the vibe just felt off. It wasn't like the usual boisterous Thursday night crowd. There was like a different kind of energy in the air that isn't ordinarily there, and you feel every once in a while, but not all that often. And maybe this had part to do with it, but he asked for the OVERmen to bring Star Rider to him. Actually, he says, "Fetch me Star Rider," and that reminds me of Homer Simpson demanding that somebody fetch his ranch dressing hose.
Like you had mentioned earlier, this was supposed to be a match between EC3 and Star Rider. For whatever reason, in storyline, the OVERmen, the newly crowned tag team champions, beat up Star Rider, drag his lifeless body out to where EC3 strikes him with NWA Heavyweight Championship. Brian, I hear you have something for us.
I do, and
let's do it.
This is a first for the OVW podcast, the unofficial podcast of OVW. But this week we would like to present a new segment, and we would like to give this award to EC3. And this is for you. Congratulations! You are the inaugural Horse's Ass of the Week.
So you should really come and look at the video for this.
You should look at the video for
We'll
this.
probably post this on our social media.
I will take a picture of this and put it in the comments. But it is an actual trophy of the back end of a horse. So EC3, this one's for you.
The kind of the whole point of this sketch was EC3 trying to manipulate Luke Curtis out of giving him a legitimate challenge against or for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. That match will take place on December 15th. That's a regular Thursday night show.
Let's
February.
try February 15th.
What did I say? Cold month 15. Okay, cold month 15. Starts in February, goes to like fucking the middle of March. It's just the same month to me.
Pretty much. Be the Thursday
as a non-religious person, it's all really the same month to me.
So that would be the Thursday after Tough Love.
Right. Tough Love is the 10th. This is on the 15th. We did not hear from Luke Curtis though.
No, we did not.
Seemingly absent this week.
I figured there would have been some kind of rebuttal or something on Facebook from Thursday to now, but there has not been, so I would assume that he is, just busy being certified. I can tell you where
he was. I do know. Luke Curtis, along with Miss Layla Gray, neither one of them were on there this week.
That is true.
Because they were in the great not state of Puerto Rico.
For her birthday.
I get, yeah. So
presumably.
Well, good for them.
Yeah,
good for them.
Yeah,
if you
good
check
for
out
you
their
too,
YouTube channel or their social medias, you can see some videos from it. It's some beautiful territory.
Yeah, that's not us speaking out of school. That's all. That's all plain as day out there.
Yep.
I mean, it's on their YouTube channel, so yeah, it's hard to miss.
I really, really, really was glad to see this talking segment be in the spot that it was. Not only because it gets on my nerves in general, but because of this main event tonight.
Yeah, the positioning of that was good because it kept that like at the head of the storylines, but it wasn't the main ending for this week, and I'm so glad that they didn't do it like that. And before we get into this, Tiny Brian and I were talking, and we both kind of felt that the energy was a little bit different than usual in Davis Arena, and Tiny actually called this before this happened.
Yes,
and I've got the text with the timestamp that tells you, before that they started this match that Tiny's prediction was correct, and it makes total sense. But this was a hell of a match.
If you ever, just based off of the strength of this match alone, if you ever hear me on this podcast say I don't want to see a Tony Gunn and Jack Vaughn match, which I have said before, I will only compare it to this match from now on, and how good this match will make me watch anything that they do forever for the rest, even into their geriatric age. Even if they are both on walkers, I will still watch a Tony Gunn and Jack Vaughn match because this was as good of a wrestling match as I've seen in ages. in ages.
This was a pay-per-view quality main event.
Yeah, it was
on a regular
a main
Thursday,
event main event anywhere in the country.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
get the veteran Jack Vaughn showing up in a shirt that says Mrs. Foley's baby boy's favorite wrestler.
Yes,
that
perfect.
is some early '80s heel heat played to perfection. That's just as good a shirt as I broke Wahoo's leg.
Mm-hmm.
If you know who broke Wahoo's leg, or there are a couple other ones out there that I can remember, but they escape me right now. But to see these two put on this quality a match was a testament to both their skill levels and a phenomenal treat as a fan, both watching in person and then later on at home.
So this is actually the only match I did go rewatch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it happened to be on the local to CBS on the TV whenever I was watching it. And it's actually WYMT. For whatever reason, Ellie gets WYMT at her house, not Lexington CBS, which is weird. That's the, for people outside of Kentucky, that is the Eastern Kentucky CBS. So it's like a weird thing to have here in Lexington. I say that all to say it because I saw OVW. I said, it's got to be about time for the Jack Vaughn Tony Gunn match. Sat and watched it. On the broadcast for circulation, you don't see the end of the match here.
Oh?
Yeah. So there's about 7 or 8 minutes of the end of this match that was cut off on the circulation. So if for whatever reason that's how you watch OVW, it is easier to watch OVW in its entirety now more than it ever has been. Start watching your stuff on Facebook, start watching your stuff on YouTube. If they are going to just cut off the end of a match like that blatantly, don't do yourself a disservice by watching it that way. Watch it in its entirety on Facebook. Go back and rewatch this match. It was fantastic. But it did kind of blow my mind that they would have cut off the end of this match. Because, Brian, what happens at the end of this match?
Oh, my God.
After 25 minutes of some of the best wrestling I've ever seen in my life.
Right. This match was a quarter of the live show this week.
I started salivating when I looked down. They said, it's time for the main event. I looked down at my watch, and it's 8:32. I started salivating. I said, these guys are going to go for half an hour, and it's going to be amazing.
It was a great match.
So
they went
good.
back and forth.
So
good.
good.
Jack Vaughn looked as fierce and as, sharp a competitor as he ever was. Tony Gunn, resilient as hell, took everything that Jack Vaughn had to throw at him.
The double finisher spot.
Yeah.
Where Tony Gunn hits him with the kill shot, and then Jack Vaughn hits him with the Kaiju Lariat, and they both are down for the 10 count.
Jack Vaughn
timed as well as I've ever seen anything.
Kicked out with 3 bridges in a row.
Jack Vaughn's bridging
against Tony Gunn at that late in the match. There were only a few minutes left in the match, and he bridged out 3 times back to back to back. That is just the testament of Jack Vaughn's intestinal fortitude.
Yeah. Well, and
that's just a big deal to begin with, but to do it 3 times after facing Tony Gunn for a half hour is exceptional.
It's 25 minutes, 30 minutes of some of the best wrestling you've ever seen, some of the best live wrestling I've ever seen, some of the best OVW possible. And Real One makes an interference.
Right at the very end.
After.
Do what?
He doesn't interfere with the end of the match, I don't think.
Yes, he does.
He comes up and trips Tony Gunn, and Jack Vaughn falls on him. The referee doesn't see Enzo out there, and referee Daniel Spencer, the official of this match, counts Jack Vaughn as the winner with help from the Real One, Enzo, who looks like he was sucked out of a Boeing jet and landed in the knockoff part of a flea market.
The story that they've told quite expertly so through this whole Enzo and Real One and Tony Gunn and Jack Vaughn thing is that Tony Gunn can't win a championship without Enzo. So Enzo comes out and basically proves his point by manufacturing Tony Gunn losing. This is so good, so good. I do have one minor complaint with it. I would have gone another week without a proper physical interaction between Real One and Tony Gunn. I would have gone.
Just to build it a little bit more.
I would have gone because I think it's still there.
Just let it simmer,
Yeah.
let everybody
Yeah.
get to know each other in the pot while everything cooks.
Yeah, because I do think you could have gone another week and not lost any momentum on it, and you
Oh,
wouldn't
no.
have. Sometimes, and I've said this on this podcast too. Sometimes OVW can let things go on a little bit too long, or they'll cut things off a little bit too early. This is something I think you could have gotten up to the pay-per-view without actually seeing them get physical with each other and not lost any momentum. You wouldn't have had any groaning.
Yeah.
It would have.
Yeah, they could have worked around that for another 2 weeks until that Saturday of Tough Love. But the emotion between these two guys just couldn't be contained, and it spilled over into the title shot from this past week. And well, when there's gold on the line, things just kind of
just call it an hors d'oeuvre.
Yeah,
This is just a little amuse-bouche of Real One versus
a hors d'oeuvre, if you will.
If you go back and watch one match from this whole night of Ohio Valley Television Wrestling, it seems a little obvious for it to be the main event, but this week, do yourself the favor. Watch this main event. Actually, do yourself a favor. Build a fucking time machine. Go pre-order tickets. Go back to the Tuesday before this Thursday show. Pre-order tickets. Go to the show yourself and watch it live. Because this was as good. This is as good of wrestling gets, man. This really, really, really was good. And
if you're going to go that far as to get in a time machine and order tickets and be there this past Thursday, make sure you bring an extra 20 so you can spring for a couple of slices of Wix pizza.
Definitely.
And maybe a couple of brews from our friend Kyle at Country Boy.
And no, we'll talk about that later.
So, Brian,
yes,
we've mentioned a couple times the vibe was weird this week. This match seemed to cure that. Like the crowd was in this completely.
Oh yeah,
like, nobody left early. Everybody was glued to their seats, and I think they, at the end of it, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, because I'm wrong a lot. Tonight's especially true. It seemed like both men were getting cheered for by the end of it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were just cheering for, yay, this is a great match.
Yeah, there was no lackluster finish. There was no, the crowd's like, oh, well, that was kind of nice. And, you got your coat, you're ready to go. No, there was none of that. The crowd and every single person in it was eating this shit up with both hands. Just nom, 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 Cookie Monster style.
The people behind me said, oh shit, they only have 3 minutes left. How are they going to do this? That's how good it was.
That's a good sign.
With 3 minutes out, it has to end because it's live TV.
Right.
But there's no end in sight.
And they've been working this match, telling this story for a half hour. And they know that this chapter of the story is about to end, but you don't know how it's going to, but you know it's going to soon.
And you don't want it to.
You don't want it to.
But this kind of the opposite is like one time I saw Old Crow Medicine Show, and it was hard out, 7:30 hard out, because it was a live broadcast, and they hadn't played Wagon Wheel yet, and I said, oh shit, that means they're going to play Wagon Wheel for the next 8 minutes, and sure enough they did. This is the exact opposite, is you get down to the end, 3 minutes here, and you say, oh no, they can't. What do you mean they can't have only 3 minutes left in this match? They have so much more to do. I want to keep watching this forever. I want it's the exact opposite. There was no dread when the person said they only have 3 minutes left. There was just excitement and wondering how they're going to get to the end point. And man, they did it. It was hot.
Yeah.
Crowd was hot. We had a few guests this past week who told us that everyone in the back was glued to that television for the entirety of this match.
And rightly so.
And rightfully so, yeah. This was a main event anywhere in the nation. It's a main event anywhere in the world. This is as good as live wrestling got for me. This is as good as wrestling can be, period. And this was a week of great wrestling at all levels. Jack Vaughn and Tony Gunn, though, maybe match of the week for anybody anywhere.
Maybe match of the month.
Maybe match. We're only in January. We'll be talking about this at the end of the year as best moments of OVW, period.
Yeah.
And we're only 3 weeks into the year. Brian, why don't you take us away on this one?
I'd be glad to. The OVW Podcast, the 10th Carney Award-nominated unofficial podcast of Ohio Valley Wrestling, is produced by Blacklight Moon Productions at Nut House Studios in Lexington, Kentucky. The OVW Podcast broadcast team is my co-host, Jack Minox,
Me.
as well as myself, Brian Hines. Our studio engineer and editor is Malachi P.S. Woodard. Executive producer is Tiny Brian Woodard. Senior producer for The Blimp is Victor Anderson. After watching Wrestlers on Netflix, visit ovwpodcast.com/podcasters to find all episodes of our unofficial Wrestlers After Show. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, rate us 5 stars, and give us a review.
You can also subscribe to follow us at OVW Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, and to the Davis Arena.
That's right.
Thanks, you guys.
Be safe. Thanks for listening.